Hi, welcome back to Have Roots Will Travel. My name is Lisa Elvin Staltari, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last several years, I've been focusing on Les Filles du Roi and then later on Les Filles Amériques, and really getting to know these amazing women and their stories and what they contributed to New France. So it's been a remarkable labor of love for me as well. So before we begin, let me show you ways that you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know. Subscribe, like, and notify. The next are ways that you can help the channel grow. Coffee and Patreon are standalone platforms, and I have put the links in the notes below. And also we have on my website, Have Roots Will Travel, we have the PayPal button. Also, don't forget, on Have Roots Will Travel, we have the index that you can go and look and see past episodes. And then, of course, on YouTube itself, we have the super thanks that they now have instituted. So have a look at that and see if that's something you'd like to do. So with that being said, let's get started and explore number 250, the 250th episode of Les Filles du Roi. Can't believe we're here. Today's episode, this is the 250th Filles du Roi episode. I can't believe we've made it. And the honor goes to Marie Jalais. She comes to me from a viewer recommendation, and when I looked in my files, the boy next door's wife. This is also one of her great-grandmothers. So let's have a look at Marie's life. So Marie comes to us from Ile-de-Ré. She was born there in 1653. Her parents were Jean Jalais and Barthélemy Bessandre. Now, the Ile-de-Ré is part of the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region, and inside of that region, we have the Département of Charente-Maritime, but there's a little, that is where she's from. It dates from the 7th and 8th century. Throughout its history, it's been ruled by both France and English. It also has been a part of the Huguenot conflicts of France. Today, the population is about 17,000 people. A bridge was built in 1987, finally connecting it to the mainland. As you can imagine, it is a major tourist attraction, and there are an incredible amount of historical monuments to visit. When I looked at the pictures, it truly looked like a slice of paradise. She would come to Canada at age 16. There is no evidence that her parents were deceased. It is possible she just decided she was going to take a chance on a new life. She would sail on the ship Le Jean-Baptiste and arrive in Quebec City on June 30th, 1669. The groom that she would select and who would select her, his name was Jean-Louis de Mata, and he was born in 1645 in Mons, France. His parents were Jean-Louis and Marguerite Aubert. Now, he is from the region of France known as the Provence d'Alpes-Côte d'Azur. Very, very unusual place, as you can see, that not a lot of people come from this area. And he is from the Département of Var, and there are about only 837 individuals now living there. But in 1113, the Church of Mons, dedicated to Saint Victoire, was built within the walls of the castle. Despite several plague epidemics from the 14th to the 15th century, the village gradually developed, and a new church in 1260 was built on the current site. It was enlarged over the course of the 15th and 17th centuries. So you can imagine that if you go there, if this is your ancestry, you can actually go there and stand in the church where he would have been baptized. Jean would arrive in New France, as so many did before him, with the Carignan-Sanière regiment, and he was part of the Maxime troops. He arrived here on September 1665. On August 26, 1669, Jean-Marie were wed on the island of Orleans. So isn't that interesting that she comes from an island and she goes to an island? I love that. She was attracted to that, and obviously this was something that was important to her. Now, the Ile d'Orléans is located on the St. Lawrence River, about 3 miles east of downtown Quebec City. The island was one of the very first parts of the province to be colonized by the French, and a large percentage of French Canadians can trace their ancestry back to the early residents of the island. Now, if you'll note on the picture depicting all of the different towns on the island, it's very important that you know which sector of the island your family would have come from. So we have Saint-François, we're at the very, very tip. Then we have Saint-Jean, Saint-Laurent, Saint-Pétronille, Saint-Pierre, and Saint-Famille. Saint-Famille was actually the oldest and the first to be established. Some of the pictures I took when I was on the island this past summer, absolutely incredible. I will go back over and over and over again. We go on to have 4 children. Paul would marry Marie-Catherine Ledoux and have 5 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Marguerite would marry Jean-François Lemay and had 3 children, none of whom made it to adulthood. She then would marry Pierre Chamard and would have 1 child who did make it to adulthood. Pierre Chamard's mother was Florimonde Rablot, who we profiled in episode 158. Marianne would pass away at 7 years of age. Joseph would marry Marguerite Boesme, but did not leave any descendants. Marguerite's mother was Marie-Hugh, who we profiled in episode 96. Sometime between 1679 and 1680, Marie would lose Jean. They had been married about 10 or 11 years at this point, so she is left with 4 children to support. The next gentleman that would come into her life, his name, Robert Leclerc. He was born in 1650 in Rouen, Normandy. His parents were Jacques Leclerc and Cécile Legrand. And you can see Normandy circled there, and then you can see Rouen as part of the Seine-Maritime department. This particular city is on the River Seine in northern France, and of course Rouen is the capital of the region of Normandy. It has such an amazing historical story and was at one time the largest city in medieval Europe. It played a prominent role in both English and French histories from the 11th to the 15th century. Joan of Arc was tried and burned alive here in 1431 in exactly this town. Rouen is a city of such cultural and educational significance. The Université de Rouen at Normandy is a very prestigious educational institution that is located here as well. And if it weren't enough, the Statue of Liberty sailed in June of 1885 from this very port. So Robert would come to New France, as so many did before him, as an engagé, someone who, signed a contract and said, I'll be there for 3 to 5 years. So we know that for certain he was probably there by 1666. He's featured in the 1667 census. He's listed as a domestic in the household of Jean Soulard. By 1669, he is free to marry. His contract has been fulfilled. And that is why we know that he probably was there, at least from 1666 on. And they were married July 9th, 1680. So she didn't waste much time. With 4 children, she really needed to have someone that she could rely on. And Robert proved to be exactly that person. Now, Robert was actually a master carpenter and was awarded the honor of being the king's carpenter, which meant that he would be someone who would get contracts to build many of the buildings that were in Quebec at that time. So he was absolutely someone very, very important to the foundations of New France. Those of you who want to do more research, you will see the number of buildings and contracts that he signed, and they were very numerous, and he definitely made an impact. They would go on to have 10 children together. We have Jean-Baptiste, who married Marguerite Pépin and had 9 children, 4 of whom made it to adulthood. Marguerite's mother was Marie-Jeanne Caillé, fille du roi, who we profiled in episode 227. Marianne would marry Maitre Roy and had 4 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Maitre's mother was Marguerite Rentier, a fille du roi, who we have not yet profiled. Robert, we don't have any information on. Pierre would marry Marie-Angelique Bastien and have 9 children, only 2 of whom would survive. Jean would die at a very young age of 1 year of age. Marie-Françoise would marry Jean Brouillet and have 9 children, 5 of whom would make it to adulthood. Louis would marry Elisabeth Bastien and have 13 children, 10 of whom would make it to adulthood. Marie Marguerite married François Jalais and had 2 children, both of whom made it to adulthood. And we have Florent François, who married but did not produce any descendants. And we have Françoise Marie, who died in infancy. Marie would pass away first in December of 1721. She was buried December 8th. She and Robert would have been married 41 years. She would leave 93 descendants. She was 68 years old. Robert would pass away 10 years later in 1731. He was, by then, 85 years of age, a remarkable achievement for a man in that period. I want to make sure to let you know about the Association Leclerc. This is a wonderful website. Please have a look at it. And I'm certain that it will give you lots and lots of information about not only Robert, but also all the Leclercs. So have a look at that. I told you Robert made an impact, and he is featured in Volume 6 of our French-Canadian Ancestors. It's a little biographical sketch that you can download from our free French-Canadian Ancestors Facebook group. You just need to become a member, and then you'll have access to the file, and you can pull down the file of Robert Leclerc and read it, unless your local library happens to have an edition of this particular book. It's really hard to find. As always, I love to recommend some sites that will help you in your journey. La Société des Filles du Roi, I talk about it a lot. It's one of my favorites. I am a member, and I'm also the membership chair. It is definitely something to explore. Explore the website first. Check it out. There is a journal that if you become a member, you will have access to that as well as other files. And if you become a full member, you will get a beautiful certificate that you decide which Fille du Roi or Carignan-Salière soldier you want to be recognized with. In fact, I have 2 right now on my wall. I'm working on getting several others on that wall as well. So there's no limit to how many supplementals you can get. So have a look at all of these resources, and hopefully they will help you. What a remarkable life Marie had, to be married twice and to marry into, such a founding family of Quebec, the Leclercs, was just a remarkable feat. And to endure, the loss of children, the loss of a spouse, to be in a strange land without her family. These are all things that we take for granted, but really and truly think about it. What would you do? And so when I studied Marie and saw what and all of these ladies actually, but this story in particular got to me as well. And I just was so impressed by their dedication and just keep on keeping on. So some days when I'm having a bad day, I think about these ladies and I think about what would they do? And I think to myself, they would just carry on. And so I carry on. So with that being said, thank you so much to Marie for her endurance, her perseverance, and her love of this new country and of her husbands and of her children. So we are very grateful that she came to our shores, and we bless her memory. And I say thank you to my patron supporters and subscribers. And I am so grateful that you're along with me on this journey. Until I see you on episode 251, I will say au revoir.